finally got my 2 bars of water from Florida.
Hey, Sushil. Hey, Kenyatta.
Hey, Miss Joe, long time no see.
Hey, Miss Joe.
You know, he cheat.
Kenyatta, Sushil and I have been together all day. We just finished something, and now I told him, I say, I am exhausted. I need a nap, because Sushil, I don't know if you know, but when I left you.
Again for everyone.
Okay.
So we're gonna go ahead and get started. I see we got a great list of attendees that's already signed in. So we're appreciative of that. So much to where we definitely gonna be respectful of your time. You know, obviously I always am thankful to be able to be on this platform with Miss Joe. We got Mr. Sushil on today as well. They're gonna be sharing some phenomenal information. For you all who have never met me before or heard me talk as much as I talk, my name is Kenyatta Sparks. I'm the DBE program manager for DBE Supported Services. We have a contract with DOTD to help facilitate their DBE program. And part of that is us developing business relationships. You know, I tend to say whenever I have the platform to speak to individuals that our relationship is more than just business with our resource partners. We're very like-minded. Whenever we refer each other, small businesses to each other, it's like a continuation of ourselves, and we definitely pride ourselves in that. As far as supported services, we offer unlimited area of technical support for all certified DBE firms. I'm not going to really spend much time today speaking on that because we really want to dive into what the disaster assistance resources that SBA has to offer. Obviously, due to these unprecedented times with COVID and now Hurricane Ida and other concerns, we want to spend our focus on that this evening. So again, just a little housekeeping. Please keep your videos mute. Obviously, if there is time, we will address any questions. Anything that we cannot address live, we will address in written form. Ms. Joanne does a phenomenal job of addressing any questions that I receive afterwards. As you can see, Mr. Shashil has already put his contact information in the chat. I will be doing so as well, and I'm sure that throughout the presentation, Ms. Jo will be providing hers. So again, get your pens and pads ready. They got some great information they're about to provide you with this evening. And then this will be a recorded. So once we get all the editing out of the way, it will be made available via our website. Depending upon how large it is, we may be able to send it out via email, but we typically populate it to our website and social media pages. So then that way you all can view it that way at any time, because obviously you have access to that 24/7. So without further ado, I would like to go ahead and let Ms. Joanne Lawrence take the floor.
Okay, thank you so much, Kenyatta, and we really appreciate your coming online and your willingness to support us in this effort. So I'll share some information about FEMA, then Sushil will present the information regarding Hurricane Ida, and then I'll come back and talk to you about the assistance that's available via the Targeted EIDL Advance, the supplemental funding, and the COVID EIDL assistance, economic injury disaster loan. I know sometimes it may sound a little bit confusing. We got Hurricane Ida and we got COVID EIDL. So we'll share all of that information with you tonight. As Kenyatta mentioned, we're encouraging your questions because we want this session to be beneficial to you. So with respect to FEMA and the requirements, if you are an individual, you are required to register with FEMA first before you can come to SBA. Now that applies to individuals, the homeowners and the renters, before you can come to SBA. One of the things that you'll be requested to include on your application will be your FEMA application number. Please make sure that you're putting in the application number for FEMA, for Hurricane Ida rather than one of the other disasters. We received calls from individuals who unfortunately suffered through Laura and Zeta and Delta last year. And in all of the confusion, they put the wrong FEMA number on their application. Make sure that you're putting your FEMA number for Hurricane Ida for this disaster. Something else, with respect to the assistance that's available from FEMA, of course, they're providing that individual assistance. This is a grant to you. It is not a loan that you'll have to repay. So there's that individual assistance that's available to you. There is rental assistance. They're providing temporary housing. In some cases, there may be assistance available to meet medical needs, like purchasing medical equipment or your medicines, you're getting your prescriptions filled. So if you qualify for that, then of course someone from FEMA will be in touch with you to discuss your needs. Once you complete your application for FEMA, of course, you're going to get a decision letter. In that letter, they're going to refer you to SBA to apply for an SBA disaster loan. Please go on and apply for the disaster loan. Even if you decide that you're not interested in the loan, please apply. If you're denied, then that opens up the window of opportunity for you to be returned to FEMA for additional assistance that may be available from FEMA. However, if FEMA refers you to SBA and you do not apply for the SBA loan, the process stops. So we know, like, some people are requesting application packages, some are getting the letters and with the notice in there to apply for the assistance. Just make sure that you apply for the SBA disaster loan. And if you're approved and you don't want the loan, then you don't have to accept it. So for now, I'll turn you over to Sushil so that he can present the information and assistance that's available to you from the Small Business Administration. Sushil.
Ms. Joe, thank you. Kenyatta, thank you. 68 of you have taken the time on a Wednesday evening after work, during work, to listen in. I appreciate your time, your engagement, and as of course, Ms. Joe, real pleasure working with you. Let me share my screen and let's move forward with the presentation. Can everybody see my?
Yes.
Perfect. Is it good? So far,
Yes.
so good?
Yes.
Perfect. My name is Sushil, and I'm with the U.S. Small Business Administration's Office of Disaster Assistance. We work with the state in question, the locality in question, when we're invited into the theater. What does that basically mean? Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness from Louisiana requested assistance after Hurricane Ida, before Hurricane Ida made shore, and they asked FEMA to assist with the needs of the state because the state's need was considered acute and not something that the state could handle on its own. So the federal partners were asked to come in. FEMA invoked their individual assistance program at the request of GOSEP. As a result, FEMA's grants-based program and our low interest rate program got applied for this particular disaster. As my slide implies, we have low interest rate disaster loans for businesses of all sizes, homeowners and renters, and private nonprofits. So the first question you folks might have is U.S. small business and homeowners and renters. How does that happen? Well, that's the way the framers have involved our organization to help the needs post-disaster for loss of property, personal property, and loss of use of property. And when it comes to people's homes, businesses of all sizes, for damages to physical property, economic injury for them, and also nonprofits, including places of worship. This is the map of Louisiana, as you might recognize, and the deep orange color is where the primary counties are. It says primary IA. What it basically means is homeowners, renters, businesses of all sizes, and most nonprofits, including places of worship, can borrow money for physical damages and economic injury for businesses. The mustard-looking colored parishes, Concordia, Voiles, St. Landry, Lafayette, and Vermilion, are all parishes on the fringes that can only apply for economic injury. That's a critical difference. Those folks did not suffer enough damages to be considered primary parishes for the purposes of this disaster. So, in one sentence, what is it that we're about? Our role in a federal disaster, in this case, a presidential disaster, and all disasters for that matter, is to provide liquidity. We are the primary source of funds for privately damaged properties post-disaster. We do this for not only homeowners and renters, but also businesses of all sizes, places of worship, in the form of low interest rate disaster loans. And in the absence of insurance, or in the shortage of insurance, so it's underinsured and uninsured, our program helps meet the needs of those individuals. As you might all know on this call, insurance is your first line of defense. The absence of it or shortage of it creates a need. It's called the unmet needs of a disaster. And our role, along with FEMA's grants-based decision-making, is supposed to meet the unmet needs of the disaster. That's what this is about. And everything else is a detail. If you have insurance and you're short of it, deductibles, loss of use, depreciation, All those things are covered by the SBA's program if you qualify. FEMA's role is to provide on the onset safe, secure, sanitary conditions grant. The second pot of money comes from the SBA in the form of loans. The third pot of money, if the SBA is not able to help you, is to refer you back to FEMA after applying with the SBA for their other needs assistance. And last but not least, the fourth pot of money is when the long-term recovery comes into town, long after the federal partners have left. Their first question is going to be, did you apply with the SBA? If the answer is no, they'll ask you to apply and find out if you qualify. So folks, if you're on this call and you've gotten an email, a phone call, and or a package in the mail, that means that you're been referred over to the SBA. And in this particular disaster, 65% of the folks, 65% of the folks that registered with FEMA were referred over to the SBA. So if you have not taken action, the whole process for additional assistance stops right there. If you do apply and you get approved, then you need to take advantage of the opportunity provided in the form of a loan. As I mentioned, we are the primary source of federal assistance to help private property owners pay for disaster losses. Our program offers low interest rate federal loans. And as you might all expect, financial hardship is what usually ends up happening post-disaster. Period, end of sentence. Homes, personal property, cars, so much pain and suffering. And our role is to alleviate the financial piece of it all by providing low interest rate disaster loans. And if you're approved, the expectation is that you are going to carry in the form of insurance over the life of the loan, because you need to protect your interest. God forbid it happens again in Louisiana. It's not if, but when. But it also reduces your need for applying with the SBA in the future. Because if you have insurance, you would then have the insurance company come in and make sure that your losses are made whole. They never make you whole dollar for dollar. So in the future, you'll again be in a position to ask for an SBA loan for the portion that they didn't cover, the unmet need piece. And of course, you'll find that after we finish our presentation, that we are a source of economic stimulus in disaster ravaged communities. And our job is to spur employment and stabilize tax bases for local parish governments. Where do we get our legal authority? It's the Small Business Act of 1953. Our interest rates are set quarterly, and it's based on the cost of funds for the U.S. Treasury. Incidentally, Ms. Joanna has heard me say this earlier today. Last week, the cost of borrowing in the form of U.S. Treasuries, 10-year, was at 1.516. Our cost in this particular disaster is 1.563%, as low as. So consumers that are applying for this particular loan are borrowing at the same rate almost as the U.S. government. So interest rates shouldn't be an issue simply because they are quite subsidized. Maximum long-term repayment, 30 years, maximum. Not everyone qualifies. And it's a cash flow loan. So basically, it's your income minus expenses, what's left over. Can that potentially cash flow the amount of the unmet needs created by the disaster over a maximum 30-year term? If the answer is yes, for the most part, the money is yours. On a case-by-case basis, we can refinance existing liens or mortgages, especially your first mortgage. And then, or also, in addition to that, you can use SBA money to relocate. So that's another facet of our program that I'm going to be talking about. There are restrictions for the loans. We cannot duplicate insurance benefits. We cannot duplicate any monies that you receive from the form of agency grants, American Red Cross, a local Fortune 500 company, so on and so forth. And if you're delinquent in any federal tax payment, student loans, SBA loans, you let your insurance lapse, you haven't paid your child support, those are automatic turndowns, if you will. This is when we get into the nitty-gritty of it all. It's a three-step process, as the brochure implies. Once you register with FEMA, you are expected to take action when you're referred over to the SBA. I use the number 65% for the purposes of letting you know that there's a two-thirds percentage possibility that you will be referred to the SBA, in which case the expectation is that you apply and then find out the outcomes. Two possible outcomes when you take action. If you don't take action, any federal assistance just pretty much grinds to a halt. You're not considered eligible for anything else because you haven't taken action, especially after being referred to the SBA. Second step, once you fill out the application, an inspector, an appraiser comes out. The eligible applications are sent to our SBA's loss verification team for review, and they come up with the dollars and cents of what the property damages were. Damages to your cars, damage to your personal property, damages to your home. A list is put together, and then it's forwarded on to the underwriting person, a case manager, loan officer, and then they put together the package. Did Ms. Joe make enough money? In other words, income minus expenses. What's that left over? Can that cash flow? And did she pay her bills on time? If the answer is yes, there is an approval that's forwarded by email or a conversation. And if she accepts it, loan documents are ordered and she gets her money within a few days after that, usually about 5 to 7 business days. The whole process is taking about 4 to 5 weeks right now. As Ms. Joe has heard me say repeatedly today, $664 million worth of loans have been approved and on the streets. And that's at the rate of 100 million a week. So which basically means that people are submitting completed loan applications, I's are dotted, T's are crossed, which really helps the cause, and monies are making it into the hands of the folks. So let me stop and take an example of an individual, and I'll use Ms. Joe as an example again. She is in a position to receive an insurance settlement, but we don't know when that's going to be. Once she signs over an assignment of insurance proceeds document, it's called assignment of insurance proceeds. We will then work out the details with the insurance company and temporarily increase your loan approval from the part that is unmet to cover the totality of it all. And then when the insurance company sends a check, they send it to the SBA, pays off the loan, and the net effect is the same. The benefit of having assignment of insurance proceeds is that you don't have to wait 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks for the check to come in the mail. You don't have to worry about how to pay the contractor. Your recovery process starts right away. And the peace of mind that comes with knowing that everything is hunky-dory is priceless. One less thing to worry about. The first $25,000 comes into your bank account because you said so. Everything after that is a conversation between the applicant and the contractor, and the work is complete. The applicant will then request the SBA to send out an inspector. Once an inspector ascertains that the damages or the scope of work to address the damage is complete, that portion is then released, just like a construction loan. This limits the possibility of contractor malfeasance and or the applicant paying interest on the amounts of money that they borrowed. So if the scope of work says step 1, $8,000 to fix the facade, work is done, contractor says it's done, the applicant requests an inspector, they come out and say it's done, $8,000 gets released. The rest of the amount is still waiting to be dispersed. On a case-by-case basis, 20% of the amount of the physical damages can be added for hazard mitigation. All kinds of hazard mitigations. In some places, it's raising the height of the home to allow for storm surges. In some parts of the country, it's for safe areas so that the fire doesn't jump from tree to tree. And so many other examples. And that 20% of the verified damages gets tacked onto the loan to be repaid over a maximum 30-year term. And again, I have to say the word, not everyone qualifies. Ms. Joe, would you like to pick up the baton here and talk about the district office work with the resource partners and our relationship with them?
Sure. And I'd like to begin by saying that the Hurricane Ida assistance that's available is just one of the disasters on which SBA is working and on which the Louisiana District Office is assisting clients and survivors. We're still working with the COVID economic injury disaster loans, and I'm going to cover that after we finish the Hurricane Ida assistance. With respect to our resource partners, which are the Veterans Business Outreach Centers, the Small Business Development Center, SCORE, and the Women's Business Resource Centers. These are all SBA's resource partners to whom we provide assistance. The Veterans Business Outreach Center works with our veterans and our service members. So with the service members who are transitioning out of the military, the VBOC, as we refer to it, provides what we call boots to business training as a part of their transition. And for those who have already left the military, we provide, or they provide, the reboot to business training to help those veterans and service members who are interested in starting a business, or they have already started a business and can benefit from counseling and technical assistance from the VBOC at no cost. The Small Business Development Centers, another resource partner, they're located at various universities throughout the state. Their services, the counseling and technical assistance, is available to you at no cost. From time to time, they provide training that may be at low cost if they have to pay for a trainer to come in and provide that training to you. The Small Business Development Center can assist you if you're interested in starting or expanding a business, diversifying, and in the case of dealing with businesses who were struggling with respect to the pandemic, they provided assistance in pivoting to other industries. They also work with small businesses in strategic planning. We always say, okay, not if another disaster is going to happen, but when it will happen. So the Small Business Development Center is working with clients on strategic planning. Our SCORE mentors and counselors are counselors and mentors to America's small business. Another opportunity for service at no cost. SCORE provides training and they provide counseling. A SCORE mentor can sit down with you and help you flesh out ideas if you're looking at starting a business. But if you're already in business and you're looking at going into another industry, they can sit down with you and talk to you about that as well. You will have the benefit of the expertise of former business owners or those retired executives who were high up in a particular industry. So they're going to share their experience with you at no cost. Our Women's Business Resource Center is led by the Urban League of Louisiana. Don't be misled by the name Women's Business Resource Center, because they also work with our male business owners as well in providing various types of counseling and technical assistance to them. And the Urban League has a division where they work with and provide training to construction firms. So we want you to take advantage of these resource partners that are available to you as a result of the funding that SBA provides to them. And the Small Business Development Center can assist you if you are denied in preparing your request for reconsideration or your appeal. So Sushil will talk to you about that in just a moment. Sushil, back to you.
Thank you, Ms. Joe. Want to briefly talk about what happens when an applicant on the business side gets turned down. And there includes an SBDC referral. And one of the common reasons for declination of an application is as simple as they don't cash flow, or they have delinquent credit, or some sort of unverifiable information, which makes the SBA go, you know, we don't know enough about you. Would you please help us by sharing with us what you're about? And the decline letter will usually include a referral to your local SBDC, Small Business Development Center. They are usually able to help you with a reconsideration. They have 6 months from the start of the turn down letter. So if you're turned down today, you have 6 months from today. So how hypothetically today is October, 6 months will be the month of March. Before the 19th of March next year, the expectation is that you work with the SBDC and then request a letter. If we completely messed up and you shouldn't have been turned down, the SBDC will help you draft a letter today if you visit with them the day that you were turned down, and send us something back to say, no, there was an error on your part. That's not me, or whatever else it happened to be. And they can help you address that issue. I'm sure Joe covered this. The counseling services are generally free of charge. It's paid for by the SBA's overall allotment, if you will, and they do a tremendous job of helping the small business as part of our umbrella, if you will. 1 in 4 businesses that stay closed for the first 5 days of a disaster have a 90% probability of failure in the first year. Literally, that means 100%. 90% is 10% short, but that means that you're fairly certain that those businesses will never reopen. And that's a sad fact because, as you might know, most businesses in the Orleans Parish, Greater New Orleans area, were shut for the first 11 days. That means most businesses, a fourth of the businesses, are in harm's way as we speak. So please be in a position to not only encourage, advocate, apply if you're an applicant, to make sure that you don't become a statistic, and apply with the SBA for economic injury. As I mentioned, part of that $667 million, about $4 or $5 million of that number is economic injury for those businesses. And those monies could be used for the purposes of paying your bills, your working capital to stay solvent, to stay relevant, to stay liquid, to pay the ongoing bills in the absence of revenue. That's what economic injury means. A one-page catch-all 4-hour program for the SBA in totality. Our number is 1-800-659-2955. The email address for the SBA for disaster customer service at sba.gov. So with that, I turn it back to you, Kenyatta, and have you say a few words while I get myself ready with the next sheet, if you will.
Okay, thank you, Sushil. So what Sushil mentioned, that 664 million. So as some of you are aware, Hurricane Ida moved all the way up to New York and to Boston and New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So that 664 million is just for what we've done in Louisiana. So we are approving loans and we are getting the assistance to the individuals and the small business owners who can benefit. Please, when you go in to set up your loan portal using login.gov, please make sure that you're putting in the correct email address. That's where all of the communication is going to go. And if you make a mistake in putting in that information, it's going to take some time for that to be corrected, because we have to verify that we're dealing with the proper person. Also, please double check your banking information. We've seen a lot of mistakes that were made with respect to the bank account number and the routing number, or after they submitted the application, they changed all of that. That has delayed funding for months. So please ensure the information is accurate, and please don't change any of that after you submit your application. Back to you, Sushil.
Thank you, Ms. Joe. Can everybody see my fact sheet?
Yes.
Perfect. If you folks noticed, at the bottom of the page, October 20th is the deadline, a week from tomorrow. Economic injury is further out because the expectation is that initially when you file the application along with your business application for physical damages, that you might come across more damages, economic injury wise, that you need to come back to the well for. So in other words, you need more money to help pay your bills. And so you get 3 shots, as a matter of fact, to come back to the well and say, hey, I got monies that I need to pay bills, which are coming up, what I've lost money in the past, and what I need money now for. We discussed, shared the map. This is our primary area. This down here is now primary and contiguous all the way to Mississippi. The interest rates that I've been talking about redundantly, home loans as low as 1.563, business loans as low as 2.855, Most private nonprofits, including places of worship, as low as 2%. This category here basically means that you don't need the taxpayer subsidy. The interest rates are double. And on most of our loans, only 2% of our loans are in this category here. So most everyone is in this category. So if one of you folks gets to be approved in this category, you can request a second look to see if you qualify for the lower rate. The loan limits we talked about, $2 million for businesses. For economic injury, it's a statutory limit. Home loans, $200,000 for damages against the home, $40,000 for repair or replace personal property. The loan eligibility, we discussed, there was a slide for it. We cannot duplicate insurance benefits. Secondary homes fall under commercial real estate financing, which means that if you're paying, if someone's paying your rent for your secondary home and you claim it on your taxes, you can have damages to those homes be considered for a Office of Disaster Assistance disaster loan on the business side. Non-compliance with the SBA's covenants makes you ineligible automatically. We did briefly talk about hazard mitigation being 20% of the total losses, of total amount of physical damages, if you will, verified by the SBA, added automatically to the loan amount. We briefly discussed refinancing, basically the 40% more of the value of the property, 50% more of the value of the structure, intends to repair the damage, and you use the monies that we lent you initially. There are a few other caveats that you have to fulfill. If all those caveats are met, then you're in that little narrow range. So do ask for your underwriter when you get to that stage, whether or not you qualify, your application qualifies for refinancing. If you've suffered no damages to your home and you don't meet this criterion, 40% or more, the request would be moot. What if I decide to relocate? You may use your SBA disaster loan to relocate. Whether it's involuntary or voluntarily, please make sure you ask your case manager for it. We discussed the requirements for insurance on the loans, and it's there to protect you. So please make sure that once you're approved, that you carry the face value of the insurance policy throughout the life of the loan. 3 ways to apply: paper applications, online, or in person. On Loyal Avenue and Tulane, the intersection of is a public library. They're open right now. The Treme Recreational Center, 900 North Villeray, and on the West Bank at Delario Center. If you are web savvy, feel free to click on that hyperlink, and there you are onto the website, and you click on the apply for assistance and let the computer and your fingers do the walking, if you will. Home and personal loans, physical disaster, economic injury, and if you're in the military reservists. That's very specifically for economic injury, not for this Hurricane Ida. So with that, I am going to refer you back to Kenyatta. I appreciate the opportunity to present this material. I see there's 9 questions, so the floor is yours to ask away.
Okay, so I seen that we do have 2 that's answered, so we'll hold those one off to the end. So we'll address these that we have. You know, obviously, Ms. Joe has some things that she's going to present, so some of the answers may come whenever Ms. Joe presents hers. The first one I see here says, when should we expect to receive any more information from reapplication on targeted loans?
Okay, so that would be something that I was going to cover. Now, with respect to the, when you say reapplication, if you're asking about reconsideration, it depends upon why you were denied for the targeted EIDL advance. Something that's happened across the country is because so many of the survivors are those that are still in business, trying to stay in business as a result of the pandemic, filed their 2019 tax returns late. When we started the process for the advance, tax returns were not required. However, when Congress gave us the funding for targeted EIDL advance, they required that we check with IRS for the 2019 tax returns, and in some cases 2020, because some of you may have started your business January 1st, 2020. So it depends upon why you were denied as it relates to when you would hear something. What we've been doing, our role in the district office, is if it's been several months since you've heard something, you can email us. And I don't know if I put my information in the chat yet, but I will. You can email us and we can go in and check the notes on your application, share with you what we see is going on. And if there's not any current information in there, then we have the ability to submit a request on your behalf. So it just depends upon why you were denied and how long ago you requested reconsideration.
So I want to do something a little different, Ms. Joe, because I see that it may be some of the things that's being asked that you may address in your presentation. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and let you do your presentation, and then that way we can come back and ask the questions at the end if it's not addressed throughout. I think that might be the best way of us doing it so that you don't have to overlap throughout.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go ahead and let you take it with your presentation, and then obviously any all attendees, please put your questions in the question and answer section because again, that'll help with the flow of going back and forth, because we want to do our due diligence to address the questions live, because some of the questions that you all have may have not been thought of by other attendees. However, it may be something that they need to know also. Again, if whatever we can address live, we will have it provided to you all in a written form following. So don't, any question you have, please put it in the Q&A because it will be addressed. We'll do our best to address it live. However, if we can't, then we will have it to you all in written form and everyone will get the answers. I see that there's a few that's in the chat. I'll do my best to go back and forth as I can. And to address it, I think Mr. Shashil has started addressing a few, but again, we would like for everyone to know what those answers are. Mm-hmm. So that way everybody can have a clear understanding on how to go forward. So I'm giving it back over to you, Ms. Joe.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So with the COVID economic injury disaster loan, there have been some updates that have been made. Now, if you recall, COVID-EIDL, as we refer to it, was put in place as a working capital loan to assist those businesses who were in operation as of January 1st, 2020. And they were suffering and struggling to meet their monthly ongoing obligations. And at that time, those obligations had to already be in effect. So it was a working capital loan. It is still a 30-year loan at 3 3/4% interest. We extended the deferment period to 2 years. So that means that it'll be it's still a 30-year loan, but you have 2 years before you have to start making your first payment. Now, even though we are deferring the payments on that loan for 2 years, interest is still going to accrue. So if you choose to make the payments, that's fine, but you're not obligated to do so. With that 3 3/4% interest rate, of course, that's a very low interest rate based upon the cost of the money to the government at the time when we put COVID-EIDL in place, okay? So the monthly payments are still rather low. If you see this example, it says if the loan was $10,000 for 30 years, then your monthly payment would be $50 a month. We have expanded the use of proceeds. Originally, you could only use these funds for the normal operating expenses like paying your mortgage or your rental expense, or keeping your employees working. It was a working capital loan. You still cannot use the loan for construction or for expansion or for starting a new business. However, as we get into this, you will see some of the additional uses of proceeds that are allowable to you. You still can submit the application electronically on the COVID-EIDL application site. And you do not have to work with a financial institution. There is no fee that you have to pay for this loan. There is still a lot of scams going on with respect to those who are suffering from the pandemic, and even now with the Hurricane Ida disaster loan. So you don't have to pay anybody to apply for this loan. And if you decide to prepay this loan, there is no penalty. So let's look at some of the enhancements that went into effect as of September 8, 2021. So when we started out with this, with the COVID-EIDL, we had no idea that we would get as many applications that we did. So we limited the maximum amount of the loan to $150,000. And then we were able to increase that cap to $500,000. Beginning October 8, 2021, we were able to start approving loans for up to $2 million. Now, that is not an automatic $2 million. Of course, your financial data, your tax returns must support that you're eligible for that amount. So we've increased it up to that statutory limitation of $2 million for which you may be eligible under COVID-EIDL. We've expanded the use of funds to allow you to prepay some of your commercial debt and your regularly scheduled payments on federal debt. Previously, you could not use the COVID-EIDL to pay for federal debt. Now, whereas we are allowing you to make prepayment on commercial debt, you cannot use the funds to just pay the debt off. So like if your commercial debt is a mortgage on your building and you want to pay a couple of months ahead or in advance, that's allowable now under COVID-EIDL, but you cannot use it to pay off the entire mortgage. You can use it to prepay, make payments on vehicles that are used in the business. Additionally, you can use the COVID-EIDL funds for debt that was incurred after the disaster or the pandemic began. Originally, it was just for debt that was already in place. So what that means is we're now expanding the use of proceeds. We're giving you more flexibility in how you can use these funds. We started out with a 6-month deferment, then we went to 18 months. Now you have 24 months before you have to make your first payment. And we are automatically deferring those payments for 24 months from loan origination, from the date that you first got your disbursement, received your first disbursement. We've amended the affiliation rules for COVID-EIDL because some of you may own several different businesses, and where there is common ownership or control, that was all considered as one entity. Now, those rules have been amended, and that other entity would only be considered an affiliate if you control or you have 50% or more ownership. So that's going to allow more flexibility for more businesses to be able to apply, and it simplifies our affiliation rules. The industries, if you're able to see my screen, there are industries that are listed there that we consider the hardest hit. That's the hospitality industry, like the hotels and the restaurants and the gyms, some of the hardest hit industries. What we have done is we've expanded how those industries can be added to the list for getting additional funding. So now we've lifted that restriction. And if you have no more than 500 employees per physical location, and you have no more than 20 locations, and you meet the other COVID-EIDL eligibility requirements, then you're able to apply for funding from SBA. Previously, that was not permitted. If you had more than 500 employees and more than 20 locations, you were not just automatically not eligible. Now, if it's no more than 500 employees per physical location, you would be eligible. We've also placed a maximum amount on that a single corporate group can secure financing under COVID-EIDL. And that maximum amount is now $10 million. And that, we put that amount there, that cap there, so that we would still be able to assist more small businesses. So this is a grid of how it works. Now, Sushil mentioned for Hurricane Ida that for loans up to $25,000, they're unsecured. There's no collateral that is required. For loans 2,500 to 500,000, the interest rate, of course, for businesses is 3.75%, and for nonprofits is 2.75%. Keep in mind also, if you recall, that we expanded the definition for nonprofit industries. Normally, private nonprofits were the only ones that were eligible. So what we've done is expanded for COVID-EIDL only, the type of nonprofits that are eligible. Still a 30-year repayment period, and there is no prepayment penalty. And now we can go up to, $2 million. You still are getting the 24-month deferment on all of the loans. We reduced for COVID-EIDL, we reduced the credit score to 570. No collateral required if it's up to $25,000. No guarantee, no personal guarantee is required up to $25,000. And then when we increased the amount up to $500, still a minimum credit score of 570. And for loans greater than $25,000, there was a UCC filing, and we require a personal guarantee on loans above $200,000. With the increase, with us being able to go greater than $500,000 up to $2 million, you must have a minimum credit score of 625, and we will look for collateral in the form of business real estate to secure this loan, and the personal guarantee will be required since the loan is over $200,000. So your use of proceeds, normal operating expenses, payroll, rent, inventory, raw materials, variable costs, commercial debt, payment and prepayment. That's something that's new. Federal debt, which includes guaranteed and direct loans, your regularly scheduled payments. You're now able to use COVID-EIDL funds for that, and normal working capital. As I mentioned, we adjusted the affiliation rules. We simplified those to model what was in place for the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. So prior to that, you were required to consider affiliation based upon ownership, regardless of how much you own, stock options, if you had convertible securities. And that was traditionally, and that's the traditional requirements for the affiliation rules. Now, as I mentioned, no more than 500 employees per location and no more than 20 locations. So we adjusted the COVID-EIDL rules, affiliation rules, to match the Restaurant Revitalization Fund rule. We expanded the eligibility and the method that we use for the hardest hit industries that were mentioned on the previous slide. So prior, a business had to meet all of SBA's size standard for that particular NAICS code. We've adjusted that. And we've created a limit, as I mentioned, because prior to that change, a corporate group could get as much as it was for which they applied. Now we are limiting that to $10 million. So these are the industries that are considered the hardest hit. So it may be someone who provides educational services, you're in arts and entertainment, as I mentioned, hospitality, accommodation, and food services. And if you're able to see my screen, and I can share this with Kenyatta to get this to you so that you'll know whether or not you fall within one of those categories of hardest hit, and you have multiple locations, but no more than 20 and no more than 500 employees at any one location. So with the new COVID-EIDL applicants, when you submit your application, if you are a new applicant, you will automatically receive an invitation to apply for the targeted EIDL advance. So we still have funds available under the targeted EIDL advance. If you've already submitted an application for an EIDL, whether or not you were approved for the COVID-EIDL, you received an invitation via email from the Office of Disaster Assistance to apply for the targeted EIDL advance. To be eligible, you must be located in a low-income community as defined by the IRS Code 45D. That's something that Congress has mandated. Also, Congress mandated that we must request and receive and review your tax transcripts. So you must have filed your tax returns. There was a misconception out there as it relates to COVID-EIDL that you could submit stamped copies of your tax returns and we could accept that. Not for COVID-EIDL. That's something that was allowable for our guaranteed loan programs, but it's not something that's allowable for the COVID-EIDL. Congress did not give us the authority to do that. We must verify that you are eligible to apply for this loan. So we're encouraging everyone just to take a look at the frequently asked questions, or if you have a question, we may be able to address it tonight. We're going to do whatever we can to make sure that when you leave this session, you have what you need. Generally, because we've changed the way that we're processing the COVID-EIDL applications, new applicants are receiving a decision within 3 weeks of applying. I mentioned earlier about not changing your email address or your banking account information. The reason for that is the banking account information, that's where your money is going to go, okay? The email is how we are going to communicate with you and send you an email to say, go into your portal and complete your loan closing documents. If you change your email address because that's what your user ID is to log into your account, you're not going to be able to access those documents. And what's happening is that it's resulting in your application either being labeled not interested or withdrawn. For an increase, to get that process started, you need to submit an email to the Office of Disaster Assistance requesting an increase. If you have an existing EIDL, do not submit another application, submit an email asking for an increase to your COVID EIDL. Your portal will be open for you to go in and to submit the amount of the increase that you are requesting. So of course, you want to make sure that you're eligible for that increase. And there are some additional verifications that have to take place. For instance, we have to verify your tax returns by getting your tax transcript from IRS. Notice that you'll receive a decision after October 8th or within 1.5 months of that application for an increase. I'm mentioning that because the COVID EIDL program ends December 31st, 2021. So what does that mean? That means that by December 31st, 2021, we must have approved and dispersed all of the loans or increases related to COVID EIDL. Congress is not permitting us to go beyond that December 31st, 2021 date. So get your application in as quickly as possible. This gives you a general timeline of processing the initial applications and the time it's going to take you to get your funds. Notice the 3 weeks and the 6 weeks. If you see that there's a delay in your getting your funds, then please let us know, the Office of Disaster Assistance, or you can send an email to us, because what we've discovered is that there are some situations with some of the individual loan portals where something is not clicking correctly. Notice the required documents that you must submit and the additional documents. So the standard documents, the standard requirements for COVID EIDL now are your federal income tax returns and the IRS form 4506T. Regarding the 4506T, please make sure that you're completing the 4506T that's sent to you either in email or via your portal. Please don't go online, find a 4506T and complete that and send it in, because it's not going to be the correct one. The additional documents for loans that are over $500,000 will be that resolution if you are not a sole proprietor, and that's the resolution authorizing you to apply for the loan. You will need to submit a schedule of liabilities, that's the SBA form 2202, a list of the real estate that you own, and a personal financial statement, the SBA form 413. This is just a slide that reflects the application process, and the sba.gov/EIDL is where you would go for information, and also where you're going to go if this is your first time applying for an EIDL. If you've already applied and you submit another application, it's going to be labeled as a duplicate, and you don't want that to happen. Also on that portal is a checklist of the information that we'll be requesting from you that you need to provide. And this is just a bigger screen of that information that you'll need to submit to us. The 2019 federal income taxes, including all of your schedules. The 2020 federal income tax returns with all the schedules, if you have filed your 2020. I know we've been given an extension until January 2021. And if you haven't filed the most recent federal income tax return, then you can provide a year-end profit and loss statement and balance sheet for that tax year, most recent being 2020. But we are required to get the 2019 federal tax returns and the IRS form 4506T. And as I mentioned, the schedule of liabilities, the list of real estate, and the form 413, the personal financial statement. And that's required for each general partner managing member, and all owners of 20% or more of the business. A personal financial statement will not be required for nonprofit organizations. We'll also need, and this will be some supplemental information that will be requested of you after you submit your application. A copy of your government issued photo ID, and they want the back and the front. As I mentioned, the current year-to-date profit and loss statement and the schedule of liabilities. And after the loan is approved and before it's closing, if you're not a sole proprietor, we will require you to submit the Office of Disaster Assistance Form P-022, which is the resolution and certification form. So that concludes the COVID-EIDL presentation. I'll turn it back over to you, Kenyatta, for questions, and also to Sushil, just in case he has any questions. Any comments.
All right.
Great job as always.
Fantastic job on both of you all's end, man. Again, as I started, man, just having this opportunity for y'all to share it. I'm like Mr. Sushil was, and you, Ms. Joe, appreciative of all the attendees in today that took time out of your schedule, obviously in the early part of the afternoon, but it's still after days of work. So we understand how important this is to you. So we're going to go ahead and roll into the questions. We answered the first one already, Ms. Joe did. So we're going to go on to the second one. Should I do a separate business application with FEMA as well as personal, then do both business and personal with SBA?
So Lolita, hopefully at the end of this presentation, you've been able to discern that FEMA is not a lending agency. They have nothing to do with lending, and that the answer is yes, you would apply for business and personal only with the SBA.
Let's see. This may have been answered, but again, if it has been answered, I'm gonna still ask the question so everyone else can hear it live, because I'm not sure if everyone's able to view what we can see. So where do you apply for SBA and through FEMA portal? So I think Mr. Sushil just answered that you don't apply with FEMA. However, where do you apply for SBA?
The SBA fact sheet that I shared has that information. Disasterloanassistance.sba.gov is the portal online. And on the chat box, I listed the address for the New Orleans Public Library at 219 Loyola Avenue. You can show that there in person, no appointment necessary, or the Treme Recreational Center in on 900 North Villeray Street. You can go there, or you can call 1-800-659-2955.
And again, go ahead, Ms. Joe.
Just to make sure everybody understands that if you're going to apply for assistance for your personal residence or your personal property, you must first apply with FEMA. And then you would apply to SBA for personal assistance. So if it's for individual, you got to go to FEMA. You don't come directly to SBA. Only if you're applying for assistance for your business will you come directly to SBA.
So, and again, those locations that Mr. Sushil mentioned to go to at the library and also at Treme, they are providing free assistance with the application process, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Just want to make sure that you all understand there are agencies out there that will attempt to, consultants that will attempt to approach you all to charge a fee for something that SBA has made available for you all to get free assistance when doing this. So please take advantage of that. Obviously, they have set it up for you all to either do it virtually or in person. I definitely would highly recommend that you take advantage of that free assistance. I feel passionate behind that because as a consultant with the DBE program, I know there's a lot of consultants out there who charge for everything that we do. And the federal government allots that money to Department of Transportation to hire us to work on your behalf for you, and you just don't pay us. So please take advantage of the free assistance that is made affordable to you. I mean, that's made available to you. So the next question is, I'm in Cato Parish. Am I eligible for SBA?
No,
Not for Hurricane Ida. They would not be. If they're
that's
asking
correct.
about that. Yeah. If you're asking about COVID-EIDL and you're a small
Yes.
business owner, then you would be. Or if you just need regular SBA assistance, you would be eligible for SBA, but not for Hurricane Ida.
And Tyrone goes on to say he did not receive an email inviting him to this webinar. So it sounds like there's another question for your organization to answer, Kenyatta.
Well, he said he did receive it, but he just didn't know
Oh,
whether
he
or not
did.
it fit. This webinar fit what he was looking for. Hopefully it has, because
Right.
he sent that pretty close to when we first began. So hopefully that was something that was addressed throughout. I think Ms. Ada I apologize, Ms. Joanne just kind of addressed that. If he's pertaining to Hurricane Ida, then no. But if he's pertaining to COVID-EIDL, then yes, if he's a small business, then he is eligible for SBA assistance.
And any other financial assistance that we have available, or any other assistance that we offer, like if they interested in federal government contracting, we assist with that, with getting the certifications, completing the applications, and all of that. So we want you to think beyond just, we know people are getting through Hurricane Ida, we know people are still dealing with the pandemic, but just remember the totality of all of the assistance that SBA offers in general.
So, and Tyrone does state that he is a small business for profit. So, Tyrone, there may be some areas that SBA can provide you the necessary assistance that you need, whether it's associated with COVID or not. I suggest that you visit their website. Obviously, Ms. Joe's staff is readily available to assist with any questions, just as well as myself, because I'm, again, one of their resource partners that we work hand in hand to make sure that we're able to address your questions. I will say this as well, even though the recording will be made available, I will be able to get the PDF version of the slides that Ms. Joanne used, as well as Mr. Sushil, to make that available to where y'all can review that along with the recording, and you'll have access to everything that they discussed this evening. Let's see, the next question that we have, is this the same process for businesses? I don't know what they mean by that, Ms. Joe or Mr. Sushil, because it doesn't have anything else with that. I'm assuming it was something that maybe Mr. Sushil may have stated, because the question came in around 5:22 when he was presenting. So,
Right. So let me take a shot at it. Businesses do not have to register with FEMA to apply for the SBA. And I think that same person, perhaps it says anonymous attendee at 526 says, I think this is where it gets confusing, that SBA can be used for both businesses and income. I'm not sure if that's confusing or if it's more of that's also what we do, my friend. And they are two different loans for two different purposes, two separate interest rates from the same agency.
good. So I appreciate that, Mr. Sushil. You answered both of those questions. And again, that's why we want to answer them live, because we want everyone to get the answer. It may have not been something you thought about, but now going forward, even if it doesn't pertain to you now, you can visit the recording at a later time and you'll be able to get the answer that way. One of the things that I know Ms. Joe has led me to, because following these type of webinars, we tend to get a lot of questions that come in. And she does refer me as well to recommend that you all, go and look at the frequently asked questions. This is an ongoing process. Things change daily. Prior to you all getting on, Ms. Joe and Mr. Sushil was telling me how they've been pretty much together all day. And speaking of various different things, but it lets you know that there's things that's constantly going on, which means there's constant changes. So as we're speaking now is what's current. It could change. So that's why we always say utilize the resources of the consultants at the agencies, but also frequent the their site to be able to see what the frequently asked questions are, because they do keep that updated. Someone asked the question, what is economic injury?
So hopefully by this time, the person is able to discern, but if not, let me repeat. Economic injury is a fancy term that basically means that a business owner has no revenue coming in. You're still paying your bills on time. You've suffered economic injury. Your cost of doing business went up. Before the hurricane came in, your net profit was 10%, your gross profit was 40%, 30% went to pay your SG&A. That's because you had revenue. And if you have no revenue, you only have two other sources to tap into: your personal savings or other people's money in the form of a loan. And that's what you mean by addressing economic injury.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. Is it possible to get forgiveness for a COVID EIDL that has been deferred?
SBA does not have the statutory authority to forgive any loans. So you will be required to repay the loans. So the short answer is no.
I'm assuming this must be for Mr. Sushil, because they say he mentioned. So it says he mentioned, if you suffered no damage to the home, does that mean that you can qualify for a home loan even if your home wasn't damaged?
I'm not sure how that was construed as such, but if you've suffered no damage to the home, then you don't get to qualify for a home loan. I mean, I don't know how to.
The good thing about it is that's why they have you all available to answer the questions for them, right? And it could have been also after that question was put in there, you may have addressed those things accordingly. Yes, because this was midway through that first hour. So it could have been answered, but again, I'm answering it live because I want everybody to get the answer for it. And I apologize in advance for being repetitive with that, folks, but I just want you all to know, we want y'all to be clear on a lot of these things. And obviously some of the things you may have not thought about until you saw the question, and we want you to have the answer going forward. The next one is, if you file under FEMA for home and was referred to SBA for loan, can file for FEMA again for business?
FEMA has nothing to do with business. FEMA has nothing to do with loans. FEMA has nothing to do with home loans. And overall, if you file under FEMA for home and was referred to the SBA, please take the next set of steps and fill out the application, see what you qualify for. If you don't qualify for the loan, you're referred back to FEMA's other needs assistance. If you're approved and would like to use SBA loan for your home, please do, because we are the largest source of funds. Carl, if you also have a business, please do not apply with FEMA. They do not have a lending program. And the only place for monies to be borrowed to rebuild your business for economic injury or physical damages is the SBA.
Next question, it says, I received the full 10,000 for the targeted advance. However, for the supplemental, I've been told several times that I'm supposed to just sit and wait. And if I qualify, then the SBA will let me know. The problem with that is there's no way to know whether or not it is being looked at.
So I'm not sure how long ago they applied for the supplemental funding. So in order to be eligible for the supplemental funding, which is the additional $5,000, you must have suffered a loss in revenue of greater than 50%. You must be located in a low-income community, and you cannot have more than 300 employees. So I'm not sure if you've submitted the request for the supplemental funding if you have. And it's been several months since you've not heard anything, then send me an email. I need the application number, and I can go in and check to see what notes are on your application. I'll put my email in the chat again.
And I will share with you all, to piggyback what Ms. Joe just said, it's very important that if you do email her or anyone on her team, to please make sure that you have your number, the application number. There's not much that they can do for you all without that. So if you can have that readily available in your email, that would definitely expedite the type of assistance that they can provide you. Go ahead. You about to say something, Mr. Sushil?
No, sir.
Okay. It says, I failed to submit in time my EIDL grant for the balance of the 10,000 advance. I received 1,000 at first, so how can I request consideration of the 9,000?
What you will need to do is to submit an email, because you received an email with a link in there. So what you'll need to do is to find that email and respond by asking that your link is reactivated. Because I can't remember how long they gave you to apply for the supplemental funding, but after a certain amount of time, the link was deactivated. So what you need to do is to respond to the email that you received, asking that your link to apply for the targeted EIDL advance is reactivated so that you can go into your loan portal and complete the application.
Okay, this one here is a little lengthy. So my movie theater was badly damaged by EIDL. The theater appears only on my 1040 Schedule E. The theater is owned by an LLC I own. My application is rejected because there's no IRS 4506-C for the LLC. I have provided my full personal tax return and my personal 4506-C. This seems an endless loop, no IRS transcript for something that doesn't exist, and so my application is rejected.
So I would take this specific application and visit with our Business Recovery Center. We have a Business Recovery Center at the beach in the University of New Orleans campus. So please go there, specifically let the team lead know that your LLC, in this case, your Schedule E, captures your 1040. Sounds like someone requested the wrong transcript, and they will request a personal transcript, which would then break out the Schedule E, which is what they're looking for. And it's a simple fix. But please go into the call our 1-800-659-2955 and or have them email me. If you don't mind emailing me, I'll send the person the link for the appointment desk so that they can make an appointment to be seen, so that they can remedy this issue. You can't walk into that particular location.
If you received a COVID EIDL, are you eligible to receive an EIDL?
Yes, sir. But please make sure that you don't ask for sums of money for the same time frame that you asked COVID for. In other words, if you ask for money from COVID for August 27th or September 27th, and then you ask for August 27th, September 27th on EIDL, that's a no-no. You can ask for 28th through the 28th of October and then not ask for the COVID side, because you can get two sources of money for the same instant.
Great. What documentation is needed to present corporate credit? Let me start over. What documentation is needed to present corporate credit card debt balance from 2020 specific and COVID EIDL?
Read that again.
What documentation is needed to present corporate credit card debt, and they have in parentheses balance from 2020 specific and COVID EIDL?
So they for COVID EIDL, you have to submit a schedule of liabilities. That's the form 2202. So that's that form that you'll be completing, showing what your liabilities are. So you'll report that on the form 2202.
Okay. Let's see, what is a UCC?
Uniform Commercial Code, by which all lending parties ascribe by. And Ms. Joanne, would you like to add to that?
No, I'm good. That's fine.
Okay. Can a current COVID EIDL loan be expanded, or would we need to apply for a second EIDL to include accrued corporate debt?
Do not submit a separate application. If you already have an approved COVID EIDL, you are going to request an increase. So you would submit an email requesting an increase to your COVID EIDL, and then your portal will be open for you to go in and complete that increase request.
All right. I have two concerns. Number one, $10,000 home damage from Ida with a $10,000 deductible. Number two, I have a hospitality business, provide tours. Pandemic and Ida have reduced sales. Seek the following: 10,000 loan to repair home and 15,000 to assist business. Should I merge both needs into one, or should I apply for a personal loan and a business loan separately?
That's correct. You would apply for a home loan for your $10,000 deductible, and then you would seek a business loan specifically to assist the business. That would be a working capital loan. So that'd be a Hurricane Ida economic injury disaster loan. So you'd apply for two separate loans, two separate applications on our web portal, or come see us in person.
Okay. So now this one here was just a question. I can answer this one. It's easy. Yes, again, there will be a recording of the webinar made available, as well as the slides. We do have to do editing, obviously, of the webinar, so that may take a day. If you go to our website, www.louisiana, and Louisiana is spelled out. So again, that's www.louisiana, D as in dog, B as in boy, E as in Eric.com. Again, www.louisianadbe.com. If you go to our website and subscribe, you will get a notification whenever we populate it, not just with this webinar, but any other future information, whether it's pertaining to webinars, conferences, workshops, or even just potential opportunities of dealing with projects that's associated within our state. Again, for all certified DBE firms, this is something that you all would get anywhere from us, because we send this information out to all of our database. And I'm pretty sure the majority of you are aware of our website. Obviously, if you're interested in getting certified, you can please feel free to give me a call as well. All that information I just provided to you is located in the chat. I put it in there. You can go and find it. Obviously, if we have time, then I will, put it in there again. We got time for a few more. Obviously, the presenters can give me direction on how much time that they have to address more questions. If we go over a little bit, obviously that's due to them being so, considerate. Obviously, we want to respect everyone's time, but we do want to answer as many questions live as we can. Again, I want to be respectful of the presenters as well and take their lead off of that. So just wanted to put that out there right now as we go forward. So the next question that we have, having technical issues in the beginning of the webinar, with this webinar, I apologize. Are you using COVID EIDL and Target interchangeably? And that was a question that's asked, but I don't know, what they're pertaining to with how the question is worded.
No, I am not using COVID EIDL and targeted EIDL advance interchangeably. In order to be eligible for the targeted EIDL advance, you must first submit an application for the COVID economic injury disaster loan. If you have already submitted an application for COVID EIDL, then you received an email whether or not you were approved to apply for the targeted EIDL advance. We're speaking of two separate, actually three separate pots of money, because you have the pot of money for the COVID economic injury disaster loan or COVID EIDL. There's a pot of money for targeted EIDL advance, and then there's a pot of money for supplemental targeted EIDL advance. So it's not interchangeable. However, to even get to the point of the targeted EIDL advance, you must have submitted an application for COVID EIDL.
Let's see. If you started the business in 2020, are the 2019 taxes required?
Yes.
I missed, well, let me see. So this question is, they missed the first 30 minutes of the presentation. Did y'all review the application procedures, requirements, forms needed to apply for loan and for either home damage? If not, where can an overview of that info be? So obviously you can retain, you can get obtain that information from the recording, but you can also visit the sites that Mr. Shashil and that Ms. Joe have already placed in the chat, to where you can retain that information also. Let's see. So this is a question that they asked, did the loan limit calculation change? In other words, if our original COVID EIDL loan was 150,000, is there a possibility for it to be increased even though our tax returns haven't changed?
There is a possibility, because when your original loan was approved, it was approved for 6 months of working capital. With the increase, that is allowing us to go up to 24 months of working capital. So it is possible for your loan to be increased.
Were there any grants other than the targeted grant for a sole proprietor? I currently have a first round EIDL loan, but all of my work are in targeted areas.
The business has to be located in a low income community in order to apply for or be eligible to be considered for the targeted EIDL advance.
Okay, we're going to answer a few more because, again, I want to be respectful of time. We're a little bit over. I'm going to give us about 5 more minutes to address how many questions we can live. And then again, I will be able to get all of these questions and I will provide them to both Ms. Joanne and to Mr. Shashil, and then they'll address them. And then I'll be getting that information out to you all. So we got time to answer, depending on what the answer is. We got enough time to answer maybe 2 or more questions live. So on a payment plan with IRS for 2019 and working on 2020, should the balance be resolved and 2020 filed to qualify for disaster loan?
If you're on a payment plan with IRS already, you need to be current on that payment plan and you need to be able to provide that information to SBA. Now, regarding 2020, if you owe taxes, then you need to attempt to, pay those taxes or get on a payment plan for that. The reason for that is because we're all one government. All of the money is coming from the Treasury. So we have to make sure that you're current on your federal financial debt. But even with that, as Sushil and I always say, don't disqualify yourself. Go on and apply. And if the analyst comes back and asks for additional information, be prepared to provide that information.
Great. Two more. I have applied for the targeted advance and was denied. I explained to the agents that I never received signed in credentials. By the time I did get the ability to sign in, they had denied me. I never hit the submit button, so I don't know how I was denied. How do I request reconsideration?
Please send me an email with your application number so I can go in and see what notes are there. Because what comes to mind for me or raises a concern for me is why you were not able to access your portal. That's why we say do not change your email address, because that's your sign-in user ID. And if you have to update your password, the link to update your password is going to be sent to that original email address that you put in. So send me an email with the application number so I can check the notes that's in the portal.
Okay, this will be the last live question addressed. Again, not to be, repetitive, but we will address all questions. Please do not leave today's webinar thinking that your question will not be answered, and it will be in a timely fashion. Ms. Joe and I have done this in the past. When I send the information over to her, she gets it back to me pretty quick, and she gives a very detailed answer that's very clear and understanding. Very easy for you to understand. So you don't have to be concerned with whether or not there's a lot of follow-up behind that. Obviously, that is available, but again, you will be able to understand the way she scripts it out for you. So the last one that we're going to do live is I was issued an EIDL advance and supplement. Before it was distributed, I attempted to update my new banking info. The information was never changed. I'm in reconsideration now, but my banking info has never been updated and I can't get this address.
I'm not sure. Not sure how long ago that was. That's why we say don't change that information. It takes months. So you will need to send me an email, explaining the situation, and put in the loan application number, put in the old email address and the new email address, okay? And send that to me. I don't need the banking information because you're gonna have to work with one of the analysts to get that change. So all I can say is send me an email address. I'll send it up and see if I'll check the portal to see what notes are there. And then I'll send it up and see if we can get it addressed.
Great. Well, excuse me. It looked like we probably only going to have a few, Ms. Joe and Mr. Shashir, that y'all gonna have to address that were actually like they was placed in the chat. But again, once we get everything broken down, I'll know all the ones that we addressed and the ones that we didn't. We'll send it out to everyone. The great thing about it is you have access to it via the live recording, but also in a written format. Again, before I conclude everything, I would like to let Ms. Joe and Mr. Shashir say anything that they would like to do in closing.
No fees, no points, no closing costs, no prepayment penalty for our loans. Just overall, it's a sweeping statement I could make. FEMA is a grants-based agency. They have no say whatsoever in what the SBA does. SBA's role is to provide funds for damaged properties, homeowners and renters for personal property, damages to their homes. Businesses do not have to apply with FEMA. They don't have a lending program. And places of worship and other nonprofits are encouraged to apply with us for damages, and we look forward to assisting you. October 28th is our deadline for right now, and May 31st of next year is the business economic injury deadline. Any questions, please, you know my contact information is listed in the chat box. Reach out to you, Kenyatta, or to Ms. Joe to get a hold of me, and I'll be glad to respond. I'm here locally, been here for the past 2 months, plan on being here for another 2 or so, because that's what the disaster requires, and I look forward to serving the needs of the many.
Just be aware of scams that are out there where people are trying to charge you for completing the SBA loan, or telling you that there's a fee, or that if you use them, they can get the funding to you quickly. No, they cannot. Please keep your money in your pocket. You do not have to pay anyone to apply for an SBA loan. That's why we have our resource partners available to you, the disaster recovery centers where you have to make an appointment to go in. So please, please, please be mindful of that and of the scams that are out there. That's it, Kenyatta. You're always such a great host. It's a pleasure to work with you. And thank you so much, Sushil, for availing yourself.
Well, you know,
Ms. Joe, you are a source of tremendous knowledge, pleasure. You're smart, you're intelligent, you're all that and then some. And Kenyatta, you're a good-looking man. You're very cerebral. You're a good moderator. You got that voice of reason, calm. I'm in great company with you guys. It's such a pleasure to be in such a esteemed company, and I'm humbled that you guys thought of me to be a part of you. And on the subject of requesting appointment at the UNO beachfront, I've listed that in the chat box. Let me read it out to you loud so that you folks are aware of it. It's capital F, capital O, capital C, capital W, capital A. assistance@sba.gov is what you would send an email to with the subject line appointment requested, and they will set up an appointment for you based on their availability. So it's FOC West, FOCW, assistance@sba.gov. And the F, and the O, and the C, and the W, and the A is capitalized. SSISTANCE is the lower caps at SBA.gov.
Thank you so much. You know, I can just, Mr. Sushil, this is the first time you and I have had an opportunity. I've been on some of the webinars that you presented on. This is obviously the first time we've had an opportunity to work hand in hand together. So Ms. Joe know how I feel about her. So I just want to pass it on to you. I appreciate you making the time to be on here to even share the plethora of knowledge that you have. And I'm excited about going forward, building this relationship with you as well. A lot of people don't know that behind the scenes, we do a lot of things to make ourselves that much more effective for the firms, even to the point when it's not even on a time schedule as far as with work. You know, we'll find ourselves on Friday evenings getting together, brainstorming, talking about what can we do to be more effective. And obviously, people don't really say it, but Miss Joe is like that lead though. She's like that one that's at the forefront, and we kind of follow behind graciously. Because like you just stated, she has so much information that she can provide to these firms. And she does it with such graciousness that, I want to surround myself with her. A lot of times I make that comment, it can be watered down, but I'm a transparent individual. I really, wear my feelings on my shoulders and in my heart, and I make statements that's true. I just want to surround myself with people like yourself. Ms. Joe, you know how I am. I appreciate you so much for making the time to be here. And even afterwards, there hasn't been a time yet that I've referred individuals to you and you've addressed them immediately. So today was great. This evening was great. As always, providing great information. I hope everyone that was in attendance was able to take the information and apply it. Because one of the things that we recognize, we can do a great job of giving it to you, but if you don't apply it, you're not going to get the results that we know you can get from it. And that's either by way of the assistance or by way of the technical support that we can offer to help you scale your business up, even if it's not pertaining to anything due to a disaster or to COVID. Like Ms. Joe stated, there are a plethora of other areas that they can provide assistance to you all that has nothing to do with any type of disaster or, assistance. So again, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you all for allowing us to take a few minutes of your time this evening. Please feel free to contact me. If there's anything that I can assist you with, I'll be able to work as liaisons to get you in contact with these two great individuals that was on this evening. And like Ms. Joe said, do not fall for the ploys. There are a lot of agencies out there who will try to get you to pay a fee for what we do for free. If you got a question about it, I'm gonna make it easy for you. Give them my direct line and I'll handle it for you. 225-706-5756. If you don't feel comfortable letting them know how they can handle that, just give them my number and I'll take it from there. We don't want you all to be taken advantage of. We want you to spend your money wisely. Obviously, we are here to help you in those efforts. So again, thank you, Ms. Joe. Thank you, Mr. Sushil. And one last thing I meant to tell y'all, we got a great webinar coming up next week. Put it on your calendars, October 27th. I'm gonna have Ms. Savitra Wilson. She's gonna come on and we're gonna be talking about how you can continue to market yourself with the governmental contracts. So again, that's gonna be a great webinar. And then on November 3rd, everybody listen, because we're gonna be promoting this one heavily. On November 3rd, we're gonna have Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome. She's gonna be on live. She's gonna be talking about some great opportunities. There's a lot of great opportunities coming through the pipeline for the city of Baton Rouge. She's gonna be talking about some great things coming that's gonna be coming, as well as a lot of great opportunity for the state of Louisiana. So look, please put it on your calendars next week, October 27th. We got a great one with Ms. Savitra, and also Ms. Zamora Crawford Olin is going to be our guest speaker. We had a phenomenal turnout, phenomenal event the last time they were both on. We're looking forward to it, and we're looking for a great turnout for when Mayor Broome is on to speak about what's going on in the local marketplace. Again, thank you all for being here this evening. Please reach out to me, put me to work. I'm a sport. Look, I played football growing up, and in college, put me in the game, coach. Put me in the game, put me to work, call to play. We ready to go. Hey, God bless y'all, man. Y'all have a good evening. Everybody be safe.
All right. Good night, guys. Much. Thanks, Sushil. Thanks, Kenyatta.
Thank y'all so much. It's a pleasure.
Okay. Good night.
See you later. Bye.